Hello, bonjour. Wait, Kabiniskis. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's winter outdoor learning virtual workshop. We're just going to let you in. We've got nearly 300 people in, just let you sort of roll in for a little bit here. But we're so excited to have you. I'm going to dive in because we've got just a really fantastic offering for you today. And it's nice to get involved. Let me find the right clicky button and then we can dive right in. Super, 425 people and climbing. Welcome. Some people have found the chat. That's fantastic. Okay, everybody, it's the 6th of February. It is Indigenous Resources for Outdoor Learning. We've got two fantastic guests to share with you today. Before we get in there, we're going to just dive through a little bit. Fantastic. Someone has found the reactions button. That's if you hover right at the bottom of your screen and hit the 3 dots of more, you'll find the reactions because we can't see your lovely faces because there's hundreds of you. So we can't do a meeting. We've got to do a webinar. There we are. Hi, hi. You can also communicate with us in the chat. Myself and Steph are going to be taking care of that. And then we are going to share any questions you have. So type any questions you might have and either using the chat or the Q&A. And we're going to pose them at the end for our Q&A session after the presentation. We can't have you on mute and say hi, so we will have to use that written opportunity. If you need technical help or you can't hear or see, please send us a message in the chat and we will help you out. Okay, there's a button down there as well with more that says enable closed captions. That will give you a little transcript. Oops. That'll give you a little transcript of words if that helps you to engage with the workshop more easily. If you, when we get to the view bit, you'll see you can either have gallery or grid, but it's just going to be Qultultun, Robert and Topher up on the screen when we dive in. But welcome one and everybody. I'm Jade. I'm the Director of Learning here at the Outdoor Learning Store. I'm joining you from Sinaiak's territory, the people of the bull trout at the base of this mountain, which has lost its indigenous name, but this is the Sinhuitqua, which is the Swift River, the Columbia River, and I'm grateful to live on the banks of it. My personal land acknowledgement is shifting at the moment. These two gentlemen are really important to me. So where I live, that river also dissects and is a connection point also for the Shakwetm people to the west, north and south of us, to the Silks people in the south and the Tanakha to the east. And I'm learning Shakwetmutsun. So I can say Jade, Resquest, and Shakwinuk, which translates apparently to I'm glad you survived the night. Like when you say hi to someone, it's not just like hi, it's like I'm glad you survived the night. So this is Chief Maikachi's brother, John. Two fantastic men who have shared an enormous amount of knowledge with me. And so I'm deeply grateful for the knowledge, the people, and the relationships that I have with the land here. And so I'm sitting with you here in deep gratitude. As we really focus on Indigenous learning resources at the epicenter of outdoor learning and of land-based learning, we got a Mischief language course coming up, which you can register for. We've got Leah Marie Dorian, who's a phenomenal Métis author, artist, sharing for a summer course. So we really hope you might join us for some of that. And another thing that we're doing, which is this is hot off the press, and if you sign up in the next couple of weeks, it's actually $199 instead. But we're doing a full outdoor learning certification. So if you're here learning about outdoor learning, thinking, I want to embed this into my everyday learning, we're going to have you there. And you can be sure that a bunch of Strong Nations resources feature at the center of this work because there are some amazing Indigenous resources that help connect you to place. All right, I'm rambling. Steph, it's probably best to have a little go for a sec.
Thanks. My name is Steph. I'm the program manager at Take Me Outside. It is so lovely to be here and see you all. I can say meet Nuilam, come inside. I hope you're all getting comfortable, and it's so fantastic to always see everyone writing in the chat. of where they're joining in from. I am joining you on the unceded territory of the Qultultun Nation, the Cowichan tribes, the Alkaminam speaking people. And it's our first workshop. It's not our first workshop of the series, it's the first workshop of February, Mimna, the time of the baby moon. And if you have been joining us so far in the series, then it's great to have you back. And if you're just joining us for the first time, I hope you are enjoying it and join us for the whole rest of the series. I'm supposed to be talking about the Winter Challenge, though. So the Winter Challenge is part of Take Me Outside's year-round push to get everybody outdoors and off their screens more than, we spend so much time these days on them. So the Winter Challenge is all about the wonderful ways that you can spend time outside in maybe the coldest month of the years where you are. So if you're joining in, it's just simple. You try to get outside as much as possible, but we've built in a bunch of encouragement. There's resources on the website. It's all free to sign up. There's lots of prizes, lots of places to share your own knowledge of what you like to do outside. There's going to be a snowman building contest. It's great fun. There's lots of community, and I hope to see you all there. I think the link probably went in the chat, but if not, I have it in there. So there it is. Yeah, so build a snow buddy, a snow creature, whatever it is. There's some awesome prizes for that, the contest in particular. So check that out and check out the rest of the stuff we've got going on as well. If you head to the website, you'll be able to check us out. And I'll be in the chat answering questions, collecting questions, all of that stuff as we go. If you're having any technical difficulties and things like that, I will see you in the chat.
Yay. Thanks, Steph. Okay, beautiful people. There's some amazing partners and people. We've got nearly 100 now doing incredible work connected to outdoor learning. If you go onto our website, you'll be able to click on any of these, including Strong Nations right there, top left, and get some fantastic resources, educational support, ideas, maybe even funding. Even in the US, we've got a heap of friends down there doing phenomenal work. I remember I need to keep doing this. I have doubled up and some consultancy if you need support. Just before we go into this, I'm just going to do a really quick poll. So please feel free. I've seen a few people coming in. If you do know your traditional territory, if you do know and want to offer a piece of gratitude or a small land acknowledgement for where you are, please feel free to share that in the chat now. And if you don't know where you are, and don't have that relationship yet or that knowledge, there's an amazing resource called native-land.ca. It's actually worldwide, and you can utilize that as a starting point to get to know the traditional place where you are. Okay, here's my quick poll for you before we get into the things, and this is just really going to help us understand what's going on, right? So let's have a go here. I think so. The top question says, where are you joining us from? And because we keep, in the last series, we had 54 countries represented. So we've not broken Canada or the US down into states or provinces like we used to do. So you can add on there. And if you scroll down again, it's kind of, what kind of educator are you? Some people are none of the above, like not an educator, but they're just passionate. And I'm seeing that simultaneously. Polls, land acknowledgements, gratitude for the land that we inherit or that we have come to love and to spend time with. Beautiful. I'm going to let that be open for just 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end that poll and share the results with you. We are primarily representing Turtle Island or North America. There's one person, it still says 0%, but there was one person from Australia or Oceania. And if I look at the types of people here, we got people representing all kinds of educators. So I'm so excited to see such a beautiful and diverse audience. And I know that Robert and Topher are going to have some amazing resources to share for each and every one of you. So let's get on with it. Before we start, and I introduce you, Qultultun. It has been a few years now that I've actually known you and got to connect with you, and I'm so grateful that you've joined us in so many different ways, sharing your knowledge and your power, and at conferences, sharing resources, sharing resources with me that I use in my own life, and the work that you're doing to share so many different voices from different Indigenous perspectives has changed my worldview. It's changed my access and my knowledge systems. I'm deeply grateful for it and to know you. So I offer you this tobacco for being here for today and for all of the knowledge you've shared with me up to this point.
Taitra, thank you. I appreciate the invites.
We love having you here. And Topher, newer friend, newer human in my life, but every time I speak to you, every time I see the work that you're doing and through your own creativity, I just think it's really empowering to see young people coming up and bringing such new and vibrant information, and I'm really grateful to have access to that through the work that you're doing as well. So I'll offer you this tobacco as a sign of my great desire to learn more from you as we go forward.
Right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thanks, Outdoor Learning Store, for having us here today.
Appreciate you both. So Qultultun Robert Goldsmith is from the Qwatsan First Nation, the Cowichan tribes, born in Vancouver, but lived on Vancouver Island and Nanaimo for most of his life. Robert's the proud father of 2 children, Melanie and Rylan. And Robert joined Strong Nations as a shipper receiver in 2018, and his role was expanded and shifted and moved, and he's now the manager of sales and someone who has brought just so many delicious educational goodies into my life that I now get to share when I'm doing workshops and stuff elsewhere in the world. And Topher Beaton, whose traditional name is Seabacola, has been involved with Strong Nations for years as a member of the operations team and is now the manager of publishing. He was previously the managing editor of Portal magazine and studied creative writing and English at Vancouver Island University. And his first graphic novel, Andy's Tribal Canoe Journey, was published in 2022. It's epic. You should read it. Okay, I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to pin you both and be so grateful, say Liam Limt, for you being here tonight.
Hello. On behalf of Strong Nations Publishing, I would like to start by acknowledging that we are located on the unceded traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nations people. Strong Nations acknowledges the land we are on not only to express gratitude and appreciation to the Snuneymuxw First Nations people, but also as a commitment to employing environmentally friendly business practices, to publishing and carrying resources that share Indigenous perspectives on the land, and to continue to learn how we as a company and as individuals can be better stewards of the land. We encourage you to spend some time recognizing and appreciating the land that you are currently situated on, and to consider your reason for making a land acknowledgement.
Hello, everyone. My traditional name is Qultultun. My English name is Robert Goldsmith. I'm the sales manager for Strong Nations Publishing, like Jade said. I'm proud to be a part of something so meaningful. Strong Nations Publishing has published so many authentic resources. I believe it's just under 400 titles. These books are written by Indigenous authors who represent the nations they are writing about. When I was growing up, most books about Indigenous peoples were written by non-Indigenous authors. The books were also a blanket representation of Indigenous people in Canada, with no distinctions between the many different peoples and communities. There are more than 630 First Nations communities in Canada alone. Our ways of life, our creation stories, culture are finally being told from the Indigenous perspective. It is helping preserve these stories and teachings for future generations. Many knowledge keepers and elders are passing on before we can save these stories. Learning these teachings keep our physical, mental, and spiritual connections to the land strong. These same resources help create change by changing people's thinking and understanding about the Indigenous people. It tells our side of the story in our own words.
I'm going to try my protocol, but I might not pronounce it very correctly, but I'll try my best. Asiam nasi yet Ikuana si lumnama ethapat Seabacola, Tunit Sinualth Mohawk I Lilwat Isepaka. Hello, my name is Seabacola, and my English name is Topher. I am a member of the Mohawk First Nations and Lilwat First Nations. I am the manager of publishing at Strong Nations Publishing. I grew up surrounded in stories that came in many different formats, such as novels, television, movies, music, but my favorite stories were always the ones I heard from Indigenous storytellers. Not just Indigenous writers, but I remember family members and elders captivating audiences with beautiful traditional stories and also just stories about their day. They would talk about a friend that they had that I'd never met, and the way that they tell stories is so engaging. It felt like I was there. I knew the person so well. They'd bring me into the story by laughing with their whole body and telling it in a way that made the story come alive. These stories are ones that had lived, or someone else had lived, and passed the story on to someone below them or after them. Oral tradition is the reason these stick with people because they're rooted in place. The people, the stories, the language is the land. Learning from the land is essential to developing community and culture, relationships, preserving our homes, and to Indigenous storytelling. As an Indigenous publisher, we are so proud to uplift such talented writers and artists to share their many diverse stories, many of it which come from and are about the land. Most of our publications are children's literature and educational resources because we believe the time to share these teachings is early, as soon as we can.
So I'm just going to give a brief introduction and just to let you guys know who Strong Nations is as a business. Strong Nations is an Indigenous owned and operated publishing house, as well as an online bookstore located in Nanaimo territory, which is Nanaimo on Vancouver Island. We've been in business since 2010. We've created and facilitated the acquisition of authentic Indigenous resources with the aim of developing a deeper understanding of Indigenous peoples, cultures, and rights among all people. We embrace the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action and the United Nations declarations on the rights of Indigenous peoples. At the heart of Strong Nations is our commitment to Indigenous peoples, the advancement of reconciliation, and the natural environment that sustains us all. We believe that education plays a central role in reconciliation by transforming beliefs. It is our mission to create authentic Indigenous literature and additional learning resources for use in schools, community organizations, and homes. It is essential that Indigenous children see themselves reflected in teaching materials and learning materials, and that all children learn about Indigenous cultures. In addition, we publish titles that focus on natural environment with the aim of promoting the preservation and protection of Mother Earth. At Strong Nations, we hope that all people feel empowered by materials we create.
So the subject of our presentation today is Indigenous resources for outdoor learning. And before we go into that, we just wanted to share that at Strong Nations Publishing, we publish Indigenous books written by Indigenous authors, as well as resources created by non-Indigenous peoples that connect to Indigenous teachings or our values and mandate. In our online store, we make it very easy to recognize an Indigenous book through the use of our Indigenous text and Indigenous artwork labels on Indigenous book listings. Our resources support outdoor learning by sharing Indigenous ways of knowing on the importance of land-based learning as well as land stewardship. Many of our resources have lesson plans, teachers' guides, or back matter that guides learners on how they can take these teachings and further engage with them or implement them in their own practices.
Learning from the land. Land-based learning improves our connection to the land in a physical, spiritual, and emotional and mental capacity. A learner's ability to make, a learner's ability to take in information is heavily impacted by their ability to be ready to learn. If they're not present in any of these four ways, they likely won't be successful in their retention of information. Getting outdoors allows learners to connect with the land and themselves in a way that promotes successful learning. Learning from the land also encourages learners to be connected to all of creation around them. Feeling this connection is important to one's identity and their sense of community. Feeling connected to the land around us is how we are able to make effective change and effectively be stewards of the land. Our resources shares ways of life that balances our needs and the environment's needs to nurture each other.
So the first title we want to talk about today is Groundswell. This is a higher high school level grade as well as into university grade collection of essays from Indigenous and non-Indigenous writers about the ways Indigenous knowledge can and must be used to address climate change. The book's introduction provides a series of moral questions regarding our relationship to nature, our relationship to each other, the rights of Indigenous people, land ownership, economic and social justice, and future generations. Readers are encouraged to reflect on these questions over the course of the book and to use them as a starting point to implement meaningful change. Each essay approaches the topic of climate change with a different focus. from education to religion and spirituality. They explore the idea that climate change isn't just a scientific issue, but a moral issue as well. By focusing on the nature-based morality of Indigenous societies, this book comes to a collective conclusion that it is an Indigenous perspective that is the key to solving issues of climate change. Several essays discuss the importance of Indigenous education and nature-based education, which challenges the Eurocentric perception of the land as something other. Instead, they focus on the interconnection of all things and discuss how we can work together toward a more balanced and harmonious relationship with nature. In one essay titled What You Need to Know Is Not in a Book, Indigenous Education, Larry Emerson talks about traditional Dene knowledge and learning from the land. He says that the land where he grew up, raised and taught him just as much as his parents did. The land teaches us health and well-being, a sense of divine social order, humility, a compassionate, interdependent language of conversation, ceremony, prayer, song, and dance.
Okay, another one of our resources I'm going to be talking about is Animals Care for Mother Earth, which you can find on the outdoor learning store, sorry. Animal Cares for Mother Earth comprises 6 contemporary interrelated stories and supporting resources for teachers. In the first story, animals cooperate to clean up a polluted pond. In subsequent stories, they care for each other in the aftermath of the pollution problem, demonstrating strength of character and social responsibility. This book can be used in elementary schools to teach through storytelling the value of personal strengths and community supports while incorporating Tsimshian language and knowledge into the classroom lessons. It provides many opportunities to extend the learning to other curriculum areas, including science, math, writing, and social studies and art. I'm going to dive in. It has to deal with a lot of the BC core competencies, which is part of the BC curriculum, as well as social emotional learning, CEL. So the first frog story, the core competency focus is critical and reflective thinking, and the CEL portion is responsible decision making. And then we got Little Bear's story. The core competency is personal awareness and responsibility. And the social emotional learning focus is self-awareness. And then we move into Raven's story, which the core competency is creative thinking, and the CEL would be self-management. And then we go on to Eagle's story, which the core competency focus is communication and collaboration. The CEL portion is self-management. Then we go on to Salmon's story, which is social awareness and responsibility is the competency focus, and the CEL portion is relationship skills. Then we go into Wolf's story, which is positive and cultural identity, positive personal and cultural identity, and the CEL portion is social awareness. So each story just kind of ties in to represent each of the core competencies. And then it explains as well as the CEL portion, which is social emotional learning. And throughout the stories, they learn social awareness, relationship skills, self-management, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, just to teach from the animal's personal view on that as well. So it touches on a little bit of everything, and it's just a great resource.
Our next series is called We Are All Connected. This series explores how we all live together in a shared balance upon Mother Earth. Each book explores a specific ecosystem with a focus on one animal and how it thrives within that ecosystem. Indigenous interviewees have responded to questions about how the community interacts with the land in their traditional territory. This is written by various authors from each nation with the support of Brenda Borham and Terry Mack. In the series, there are 2 foundational books, The Earth Our Home and The Earth We Share. These books introduce important terms and concepts that are explored in the rest of the series. They set up readers for understanding and connecting to the 8 other titles, which are Coast Salish, Coastal Rainforests and Cougars, Haisla, Rivers and Chinook Salmon, Inuit, Tundra and Ravens, Lakota, Mixed Grassland and Bald Eagles, Métis, Wetlands and Mallards, Niska, Ponds and Leopard Frogs. I'm hoping I don't butcher this one too bad, but Inklapamuk,
Ninkla
Dry
Katma.
grassland. Oh, thank you. Do you want to do the title for that one? So
Ninkla Katma, which is grasslands and rattlesnakes.
Thank you. And Stolo, riparian forests, and black bears. This series talks about the ways we can learn from and care for the land around us. It also contains questions that encourage readers to reflect on the land where they live and the ways they interact with it. Each book ends with a page about the importance of maintaining healthy ecosystems and what we as readers can do to protect the environment around us. Each book begins with traditional storytelling and artwork from the focused Indigenous territory. These stories connect to different kinds of learning, like spiritual learning in Kim Sue-Goodtrack's It Happens All the Time, relationship building in Joe Starr's Springtime Fishing in Kitimat, and emotional learning in Celestine Alex' Cougar and Fire. Indigenous interviewees respond to the question, what does "we're all connected" mean to you? Through the lens of their Indigenous background. They also respond to questions about the importance of different plants and animals in their culture. The series connects traditional teachings with science curriculums by teaching readers about biodiversity, classification, food chains, life cycles, and connections between living and non-living things.
So I'm going to talk about our Strong Stories series. There are 6 Strong Stories series. So there's 6 different nations represented, each focusing on traditional stories, ways of life of the specific Indigenous people. These books have different grade ranges from grades 1 to 6, depending on the series, and they share, just like the ways of life creation stories, things that are important to the Indigenous people represented. And I'm going to just dive into a bit about a few of the books that are in the Strong Stories. So the Kanikahage is the first one I'm going to do. The stories were authored by Michelle Corneau. And the book I'm going to talk about is called The Game. It's physical learning and respect. The animals and the birds in the book are getting ready for a game of lacrosse. And Bat would love to play, but neither team wants him because he is different than them. This Kanikahage story is about how we all have a special talent that we must respect in others. This book also includes information about lacrosse. The Kanikahage is one of the 6 nations that together are the Haudenosaunee people. It's just a great story. It really is about inclusion, and it is about respect and realizing that we're all here and we all serve a purpose. Just a great all-around book. The next one I'm going to talk about is from the Kwakwaka'wakw series. This series is authored by 2 people that are Kwakiutl. So it'll be Bobby Wildman and Sally Williams. And this book is traditional berry picking. And this one's cognitive learning. Essentially, the Kwakwaka'wakw people harvest many types of berries. Who are careful to take care of the berries and harvest vegetation in the forest. This book teaches just respect for the land and how we rely on different plants and things to survive. The next one I'm going to talk about is the Coast Salish stories, Strong Stories, and this is authored by Celestine Alec, Taking Care of Our Mother Earth, and The Great Blanket of Moss are the 2 titles I'm going to talk about. So in the Coast Salish story for the Taking Care of Mother Earth, it is explained how each family played a traditional role in taking care of our Mother Earth, from controlled burning to ethical hunting and fishing practices. The Coast Salish people were and are still taught by their elders to respect Mother Earth and just to be good stewards of the land. The next book is The Great Blanket of Moss. So this is like a creation story. The Great Blanket of Moss in this Coast Salish story, the little trees are rude to snow. To make up for her children's rudeness to snow, Mother Tree chooses to give her life up as a tree and transforms into a great blanket of moss. The moss blanket protects the younger trees from the snow's anger. It teaches respect. It teaches respect, and it's got respect for the wisdom of our elders is a theme woven throughout the story, and it just appeals to readers of all ages. And then I'm going to move on to our Métis Strong Stories, which was authored by Leah Marie Dorian and illustrated. She has some wonderful illustrations. Leah Marie Dorian's poetry reflects her deep connection to Mother Earth, which she has had since she was a child. Each poem gently recognizes all that is around us and the importance of being respectful. And I may be pronouncing the next one wrong, It's the Decade Strong Stories, which is authored by Cecilia John. And this book, Topher's holding up, is Berry Picking with Atso. And traveling to Sincut Mountain was a favorite summer memory from the author, Cecilia John. She and her family would pick wild berries. Her Atso, which is her grandmother, taught her many things, how to identify plants and roots and where they grow. And it just speaks to a lot of her homeland and different berries she's learned to harvest and different, protocols that she was taught from her grandmother. So our strong stories, they're all a collection. There's 6 different stories, so they're all a collection of ways of life, important creation stories. I've read a lot of the Coast Salish ones. They're pretty good with their creation stories. Also, 3 of these strong story series are available in French as well. So that's the Coast Salish, the Tlingit, and the Kanikahage. So we'll be able to offer those in French. Those are the only ones that we offer in French currently, but we're hoping to expand sometime in the future. We'll see how it goes. I'll pass that off to you, Topher.
Next series is one of our newer releases that came out last year. It's called Strong Science. It's a language-based series of 16 books of various reading levels, helping young readers learn about 4 Canadian animals that all students will recognize. In this series, there are 4 sets of 4 books that focus on beavers, deer, ducks, and raccoons. Common learning objectives in science curricula across Canada are addressed, and suggestions for extending the learning to other curriculum are included in the teacher's guide. Half of the series is written and illustrated by Lakota author Kim Sue Goodtrack, and the other half is by Brenda Bora, who has collaborated on educational books with Strong Nations for over 10 years. The Strong Nation, the Strong Science Teacher's Guide addresses language arts, math, social studies, and provides information to develop an appreciation for and an understanding of Indigenous cultures. The Teacher's Guide shares Indigenous ways of knowing the cultural significance of these animals and elaborates on the traditional design used by Kim and the symbolism in her work. Each book contains back matter that supports reading comprehension. In the Teacher's Guide, there are discussion topics and activities to raise awareness of personal action for helping to keep Earth healthy. For example, the back of Baby Raccoon, it asks readers, what do you know about raccoons? And asks the following questions, all of which are answered in the book. Robert will share this part.
So, what do you know about raccoons? What do raccoons like to eat? When do raccoons look for food? Where does baby raccoon find fish? And why do you think raccoons like to live near water? Perfect.
Great.
Alrighty, and the next series I'm going to talk about is the Spring Adventure series, which was authored by Brenda Borum and Terry Mack. And these are suggested for grades 2-3. And it mixes science with storytelling to help young readers learn about biodiversity, food chains, and ecosystems of crows, robins, ravens, and deer. They feature easily recognizable animals from throughout North America, allowing readers to learn about the world around them through these fun stories. And that's it.
Great. And I am the Elwa, chronicles the history of the Elwa River and the 2 dams built on it in 1911, which altered the entire river ecosystem for 100 years. It is narrated by the powerful voices of plants and animals that inhabit the ecosystem, as well as a dam builder, the Clallam tribe, a worker, and the river itself. The story celebrates ongoing rewilding of the special environment and offers a welcome to all of the creatures who are coming home. This book is written by Laurie Peelin with Robert Elfson and illustrated by Laura Timmermans. I Am the Elwa shares the long-term impacts that dams have on the ecosystem through different voices and characters. At the beginning of the story, we see a land rich with animals, plants, trees, and the setting is harmonious in nature. Quickly, we see the harm that comes with damming the river. As animals are forced to leave their home, trees are cut down, and the lower Elwa Clallam tribe, their whole way of life is changed in both their connection to the land and their diet and their place in the world. This book teaches us as readers that at any age and regardless of our position, we can make a difference when we speak up. Scientists, citizens, children, elders, and the Clallam tribe work together to protect the land. The Elwa is one of few rivers in the Salish Sea that is home to all 6 species of salmon. There is great back matter that shares information about each different species, and there is a free downloadable lesson plan that is currently being updated and should be available by the end of February.
I'm going to talk a bit about our supplementary resources. We have the SL Indigenous, so our Strong Learners Indigenous Plant Cards, which is essentially a memory matching card game. And these support young learners in a number of areas, from social interaction, turn taking, to attention to detail, ability to recall information. Each of these cards features a picture of a plant, which helps children learn to identify plants outside. And my next resource is the Pacific Northwest Plant Knowledge Cards, a set of 72 cards with 65 cards highlighting edible and medicinal plants of the Pacific Northwest and their traditional uses and ways of harvesting them. So there will be information on one end about how to harvest, when to harvest, what they're good for, if they're edible, if they have medicinal uses. And then the plants that are featured in this goes right from northern Oregon to northern BC and a little bit into Calgary, or a little bit into Alberta, sorry. And they're the only one of its kind. It's funny because we get asked all the time of people requesting, do you have this for Ontario? Do you have this for Alberta? Do you have, and it's just, we have a collection of elders that came together for this project, and they added their language from Dididat First Nations. And then there's Hulkaminam in there from East Vancouver Island. They actually do not take a royalty for this. It actually goes to I believe it's a plant nursery, is it not? In Victoria, Topher? The royalties go to a plant nursery down in Victoria, which is pretty handy. It's been our biggest seller for a few years. Never seen a resource like this one. The next thing I'm talking about is our Strong Nation stamps. We have 15 rubber stamps featuring designs from Bill Helene of several plants and animals made and designed in Canada. These follow this theme of Strong Nations books, like Animals Care for Mother Earth or Strong Readers. Many of these animals are interchangeable, as well as our finger puppets, which are also done by Bill Helene, who's Sim Shen. These books are these animals that he's created for finger puppets and stamps, play a theme through Strong Nations, all of our resources, so it kind of ties everything together nicely. And I think Topher is going to talk about Andy's Tribal Canoe Journey.
Yeah, so there are a couple, just to share other Strong Nations resources that are featured in the outdoor learning store that I think are good recommendations for outdoor learning. The first is Andy's Tribal Canoe Journey. This was a book that I worked on and co-authored with Georgia Johnson and Cadence Manson, 2 youth who went on the tribal journey. And the book is about Andy, who has had a rough school year and is struggling with learning the lesson of who am I? So if you are a reader, you're joining Andy on his canoe journey with his canoe family as he experiences tribal journeys for the first time and learns from community how to answer this question. It shares the benefits of physical education outdoors and learning from the land. It's a graphic novel for grades 3 to 8, and a free downloadable lesson plan is being planned for spring release date. I should also mention the illustrations are done by Natalie Lauren, who did a fantastic job with a very quick turnaround time. The other one that I want to share is a new series called All That You Are series. And the first entry is called You Are Sacred, and it released last year. And its follow-up, You Are the Land, is planned for a late spring or summer release this year. These books are preschool to grade 1 level and share the Anishinaabe teachings that relate to each quadrant of the medicine wheel. You Are Sacred is a lyrical story that encourages the spiritual wellness of young learners. Each page is a reminder that we are all relations and can find solace in the plants and animals, land and sky, and ancestors around us. Using the teachings of the spiritual quadrant of the Anishinaabe medicine wheel, this affirmational picture book shares a heartwarming message for children. You are sacred. You Are the Land will cover the physical quadrant of the Anishinaabe medicine wheel and share the many ways we are connected to the land through physical features, emotions, and the lessons we welcome the land to share with us. Each book in this series will include back matter that shares Anishinaabe connections and traditionally significant characters and symbols, as well as translations from English to Anishinaabe Moan. There is also a page dedicated to the Anishinaabe medicine wheel, its teachings, and the associated direction, medicine, animal, element, season, and age associated with each quadrant. Yeah, just a few other things to remind everyone about for Strong Nations. A bit of an update is that Pink Shirt Day is coming up on February 28th. If anyone is looking for a resource that features Indigenous artwork and spreads the message of choose kindness, we sell them at strongnations.com. We're also currently creating a new design for our orange Every Child Matters shirts this year. So if you're interested in submitting a design, please let us know. You can find our information on our website and social medias. We're looking for artwork that will provide, and we will provide an honorarium and royalties for the shirt. We also donate a % of sales to the Indian Residential School Survivor Society. And we're also always interested in collaborating on new projects and business ventures. We are currently open for submissions. If you have a project in mind, please check out our website for manuscript submissions and guidelines if you are submitting a book. If you're interested in collaborating with us, you can reach out to us by our general contact email on the website, and we will put you in touch with whoever is best fit for that proposal.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to us ramble on. We have a closing statement I would just like to read out now. At Strong Nations, we publish authentic resources and carry thousands of works from Indigenous creators spanning Turtle Island and beyond. Ultimately, we share these resources with you in hopes that you'll feel inspired and encouraged to learn more about that Indigenous lands and whose traditional territory you reside in, and Indigenous ways of being and knowing. A good starting point is to utilize Indigenous peoples categories on our website, enabling you to pinpoint stories from authors belonging to the nations in your area. We're always happy to help make resource recommendations or even put together custom learning bundles for classrooms or schools as well.
Thank you so much. And I was laughing because you ramble, I ramble. That was all excellent. Very informative. Lots of people so excited. I don't know if you're now looking at the chat. It's people saying thank you so much. And lots of people, some people who've already engaged with some of those resources and some people just learning new things. So I was putting a link into all of those resources and to the Strong Nations website, strongnations.com. Like You Are Sacred, for example, if you buy that from Strong Nations, then there's a free workshop with the author on the Take Me Outside YouTube channel. And we hosted Bill Helene, who shared about animals care for Mother Earth and did a deep dive into that resource. And you can find that in our free recordings bank. So there's so many ways to, if you do get these resources, it's not just another book. There's really amazing ways to connect in with the authors. Thank you so much. That was excellent. Robert, I believe you've got to go. And I'm so grateful that you were here with us, and I'll post your tobacco to you. And I hope I get to see you in May, but if not, I'll see you the next time that I'm out west.
Sounds good to me. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Hope is going to stick around and do some Q&A with us. You're in the hot seat, Topher.
Yes.
With over 600 people. No, right. The questions have been pretty awesome. So one of the questions that's come through is people asking for, like, do you have New England resources? Do you have things for Quebec? Do you have things for specific places? So I know Robert has said, if you don't see a resource on the Strong Nations website or through our resources that speaks to you, to send him an email, right?
Yeah, Robert is our sales manager, and he will absolutely do his best to locate resources for you. And if you are on our website, you can search by territory and by nation, so that can always help you. If you don't know what land you are currently on, Jade, I believe, Outdoor Learning put the nativeland.com link, which is very useful, and I was gonna have it part of my presentation, but I figured you guys would have it already, so that's great. So if you find out which territory nation you currently reside on, then you can look for resources through strongnations.com. And you can also send us an email. We'd be happy to try our best to link you to the proper resources and source them out. Unfortunately, there's not one for every single place at the moment, but if you also can identify gaps in territory that you know of, you can also send that our way, and we'd be happy to look into creating a resource for that, as long as we can find the right connections and make it work.
Beautiful. And I was answering these as they came in, because a lot of people were like, okay, what's the age range for We Are All Connected? Can I use Animals Care for kindergarten? Yes, you can. for me, I've used Animals Care for Mother Earth. I've used We Are All Connected from like kindergarten up to grade 12. Because even for older grades, I just use it as like a hook, like a drop in point, and then get them to go and do some more complex stuff. But someone was interested in more high school age, because I feel like that's something we don't. So Groundswell for sure. And do you have some ideas for some other resources that might be tailored to an older age?
I think that Andy's travel canoe journey kind of gets into like introduces to high school. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of materials like that at the moment. We have an online bookstore with over 5,000 resources that are Indigenous. So if you are looking for high school level resources, you can reach out to us and we can put together curated lists. It's actually something that we very, very much enjoy doing is if you have a subject or a nation or anything that you can give us, we'd love to put together a resource package for you and let you know what best suits your needs.
Amazing. So again, sales@strongnations.com and Qultultun will get back to you and help you connect. So a couple of questions. So Christy says, my class is more than 50% Mi'kmaq. As a non-Indigenous educator, there always seems to be a bit of fear about what I can teach within the Indigenous culture without stepping over the boundary of teaching a culture and way of life that doesn't belong to me. Do you, I think the question there is like how to share resources in an appreciative rather than appropriative way.
I think one of the best things you can do is always ask the nation that you are sharing information from and to bring in members of the nation if you can. You can reach out to them or an elder or just if you have a friend who is of that nation and feels comfortable. It's always great to have them see representation of their own nation as well, teaching them lessons. So I think that's the best way to do it. But if that's not available, I just encourage people to remember it's about the intent behind it. And I think that as long as your intention is good and you're trying to share these resources in a way that engages with youth, then it's usually okay. And I think that it's just great that people are trying to take that action now. So.
And specifically in the store, we have a book called Walking Together that's written by Elder Albert Marshall and a non-Indigenous educator, Louise Zamani, and it's called Walking Together. And I have heard them speak together, and the book is beautiful. And it really talks about how unity and appreciating other knowledge systems and coming together is so important. So yeah, using a friendship center or going online or starting with a book and then reaching out beyond that can be a really beautiful way to build relationships so the next time you can have someone join. Okay, Hannah asked, do you know of any books related to bannock making and or teepees? I work at a camp and retreat center. Okay, and this is a big thing. So we want to teach kids how to make bannock and use a teepee, but we didn't set it up because we actually don't have the appropriate cultural knowledge to do so. So I think this sort of speaks to your last point about ask the nation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the best way to do it again. It's to bring in someone that can provide the proper knowledge and protocol. As for resources that you can get as preparation for that, we have a couple that I can think off the top of my head. One is called I can't remember what now it's called, Making Bannock with Grandma or something. I'd have to find the resource of which I can't remember what it is, but it's a early years book and it's about 16 pages and it teaches how to make bannock. We also have a book called Bear and Coyote, which is a bit of a traditional story about the first like fry bread in the can't remember the exact nation at the Sequemic, I believe, their nation, and it's about them, the bear and the coyote working together sort of to make smoked salmon as well as fry bread. And I believe there's also a recipe in the back. So yeah. Bannock with Grandma, someone commented, I saw that. Yes, that's
yeah, that's it. Beautiful. But yeah, make sure that you're connecting with someone who holds that space for you to dive into delivering that to your students.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Joni's asking, do you have any listening resources so we can hear Indigenous language from fluent speakers?
Unfortunately, this time we do not. We are definitely very interested in looking for making audiobooks and for having resources that share language that relate to our books. So that is a project we are considering, and we'll be probably making some development in the next year. But at this point, our personal resources we don't. I believe that other places online, I'm sure. I think people are commenting that people can
Yeah, I
look
just
there.
put a link into First Voices. It is dependent on the First Nation. Some of them have books, like stories, which have the audio over, which is amazing. And some are still building up. There is also a Secwepemc language app. So yes, you might have to just go for a little adventure of research. But Topher, I would love if you had books that were then had an audio book. And because the thing I love to do with my kids, I've got some local Siniac stories that are audio, and I take a speaker out into the forest and we listen to like the story of Coyote and the river and the Columbia River sitting next to it. And that for me is like so beautiful. So I vote yes, please. Okay. Chelsea's asking about lesson plans. Do some of these resources come with lesson plans?
Yeah, I believe we mentioned a few that do. So Animals Care for Mother Earth is sort of like a lesson plan built around stories, as well as I Am the Elwa has lesson plans. All of those are under for Strong Nations. We have a free downloads section of the website. I believe it's still under development, so it doesn't look as pretty as we'd like, but it has all the resources available, and you can just download them from there. It's also going to be something that we work on over the next year, which is to create more lesson plans for more resources that are our own publications. As far as other resources, we do have those as well on our website, but oh, my camera's shaking on. But there's also, if you have a book in mind that you're looking for specific lesson plans, you can always check with their publisher because they would probably have those.
Beautiful. And yeah, just to reiterate again, you can search on the Strong Nations website via your local First Nations. If you don't find a resource, although I've seen you have really quite an amazing diversity there, then send an email to Robert sales@strongnations.com and then you can have a talk about it. And he said, look, I'm ready. I keep asking people to send me recommendations. Nobody's emailing. So he's ready if you're ready. And I love the chat. People are getting so excited. So everybody that's here, stick around because we're going to do prizes in just a second. You will get a discount code to the Outdoor Learning Store we've got a small amount of amazing Strong Nations resources. That will come in your follow-up email along with the recording, and any of the resources that we linked to today, including the Strong Nations ones, will be in that follow-up email. You'll get it tomorrow. If you haven't got it by lunchtime, it's probably in your spam. So please have a look. So yes, if you're looking for specific resources for a place, check out Strong Nations website, and if not, send an email. Topher, I'm gonna just say thank you. That was all the questions that got asked. You were so efficient answering them. It's like lots of them. And again, I should say, lots of people asking about cards from specific regions. So if you ever fancy making them for different places, I think they'd be very well received. But I recognize
just to speak to that is yes, we usually rely on with those that's very specific to the knowledge keepers from the area. So unfortunately we can't really create the project, but if you can think of territory or area that you would love those cards in, I would definitely recommend connecting with them and maybe suggesting the idea to them, and we'll do the same at some point, I'm sure, is to reach out to different nations and just let them know we're interested in working with them. But you can always submit projects to us, and we would love to create more covering Turtle Island, but it's just about getting the projects proposed to us, I think, at this time.
So go forth, have a look around, and maybe dive into some of those personal or local relationships, and that could be the spark. We do also have the book Medicines to Help People. That's Christy Belcourt. That's Métis plant use, and it's a book, but it has the beautiful image, almost like the cards. But the Pacific Northwest ones, I use them all the time. They're just really fantastic resource. Okay, Topher, I'm so grateful for your time. It's so amazing to hang out with you and learn about all the amazing resources that you've shared. I mean, I know about them because I use them all the time in my teaching practice, but I'm really grateful to share it with more people. Okay, it's about time we're going to do some quiz. You can hang about Topher to watch the excitement, or you can just sign off and go about your evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And all right, everyone else. So we used to make you do a quiz and find things and do all the stuff, and I really appreciate you wanting that excitement. But the reality is it's a little bit challenging for people to engage with, particularly if you find typing challenging, and we were finding that it's the fastest people that are doing it. So I'm going to just pick them randomly. So here we go. I've got a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store, and it is for Wanda Rose. Wanda Rose. I'm going to get your email from our registration list, Wanda Rose. But if you wanted to send a message to us and let us know whether you're Canadian or US dollars for this one, that would be really helpful. Okay, eyes closed. I'm scrolling. Carol, Carole. Carol Hawley. You also have won a $25 gift card to the Outdoor Learning Store. Carol Hawley. Please send me a message maybe and let me know if you're US or Canadian dollars. Okay, the next two are for the Take Me Outside store, which is just in Canadian dollars, but some fantastic, wonderful things there too. And I have Gwendolyn Fink. Gwendolyn Fink. You are a winner of our Take Me Outside gift card. And the last person is Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray, you are our final winner in this round of gifts.
Congratulations.
So, woohoo! I'm sorry, Steph. Somehow I've managed to hide you. I don't know where you are. Oh, there you are. Amazing. Yay. Fantastic. Wanda is Canadian. Lovely. Amazing, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I think it's really honestly heartwarming, when I go with the store to conferences or out into the world now, to see how much desire and joy and connection there is to Indigenous resources. And that's something that for me, I cherish in my life now, is that knowledge. I have my Canadian citizenship ceremony on Thursday this week, and I am just so grateful because these resources allow me to step into that space. And when I swear allegiance to First Nations, Inuit and Métis, I know that I can do that with a big, wide, warm and genuine heart as part of my swearing in ceremony. So deeply, deeply honored to be a part of this country and to honor the history of it, all the diverse ones that I've been able to get access and access knowledge to. So thanks, everyone. You guys are so sweet to me. I appreciate
Everyone's
it.
everyone's lots of congrats in the chat too.
I wasn't going to say anything, but that just came out. It's heart and soul work here, everybody. And Qultultun, I met his wife when it came to operate the Strong Nation store at our National Learning Conference, and just beautiful humans doing amazing work. So really stoked. Okay.
Yeah.
We're on time. I don't
Amazing. Never been
it.
done.
We're crushing it. I want you to get to have enjoyed this and then go and eat dinner, be with your kids or your dogs or your other humans or whoever you care about. And so we'll say good night.
Good night, everybody. See you next time.
Lim and wait.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.